Well, that was awkward. Um, give it a shot. Hello. Okay, I'm giving it a shot here. I've got YouTube. It's YouTube. I always blame YouTube. That's what it is. It's always YouTube's fault. Stop recording. Let's see. I'm recording. Can you hear me on everything? Can everybody hear me everywhere? Okay. So I can hear you too. Yes, I can. Um, but you will not. I don't think you're. If you're talking, it probably will not wind up in the YouTube feed. So that's fine. We don't have to worry about that. The joy of this all. So complicated. Let me pop that screen out, and we will have some room for comments in all these different crazy places. It's so exciting. Oh, so how's everybody doing? It sounds like there's lots of lunch talk, different topics on where to get the best food on campus. What one? Let's see. The Commons is doing well these days. Okay, well that's good to hear. That's true. Yeah. Uh, okay, so we're going to try to dive right in today as much as we can, because today is also going to be one of the first times we're going to do check-ins. And if you haven't already, I'm going to just say your RCS IDs here. I'm going to attempt to pronounce it. But starting at roughly 3:30, I'm going to be meeting with Nagagam, Ray J5, Bertini, Hoy 3, Martis 10. So that's today. We'll see where we get as far as material goes. For the most part, the check-in would be kind of like, hey, do you have Unity installed? That's sort of like one of the main things to make sure that you, in fact, do have running on your computer, because that's kind of important. But in terms of what we want to discuss, we want to be talking more about programming. So let's see if I can't show some stuff about programming in Unity. And this lecture is going to be sort of more C# focused, but as mentioned, what Bolt is, even though Bolt is a visual programming language, a lot of the structures, constructs, things, and so on are definitely kind of designed around the fact that C# and the objects and components and so on are what they are inside of Unity as well. So you're going to see lots of kind of parallels between the two. Now, I'm also going to attempt to get Unity running in the background. That's the one thing I didn't start, which of course is going to take forever. So I'll use this as an opportunity to talk about programming in Unity as well. All right, so everyone can hopefully we see my slides. Is YouTube still there? YouTube, I don't see any comments over on YouTube, and everybody's quiet now. So let's see, 2020 fall. I'm gonna put a quick poll up there. Everybody good? Everybody good? All right. Good to hear. If I see any downs, I'm going to be worried. So that'd be something. So let's hopefully no downs. All right. So we switched over programming in Unity. I am getting a bit of an echo from Brendan. It's great. I can see my the moment I would say something, then it would like light up and I'd hear myself again. So like you totally got exposed by Discord there. So Discord's terrible. Doxed by Discord. So, okay, quick review. Game objects, the things, the nouns, all independent objects, visible and invisible. Things like cameras, lights, terrain, vehicles, objects, obstacles, player, audio source, even the GUI stuff. Things like buttons and text, all that kind of good stuff. You know, the big things that are big chunks of information. Then we have the components, which are smaller units of work, but also they're not just work, they are also data that's associated with them. Your classes, your components that you create, your scripts are happening at that kind of component level. So they're containers to group related functions and properties. That's what our notion of a class is in C# and sort of in Unity in general. Now within components, we are going to have fields and properties, which is sort of the data inside, the adjectives. Is it blue? Is it red? Is it fast? Is it slow? What's the speed? And so that all that kind of good stuff. And then the functions or methods within those classes are going to be the verbs, you know, kind of the this goes in, we operate on it, we do stuff to it, and ultimately it gets spat out again, but in a different form, or, you know, maybe it's on the screen, or maybe it moved something, but it caused something to happen. Okay, so that's the notion. Now also there's a special class of things in Unity called events. Certain functions, certain methods, certain things only happen in response to events, the circumstances. Things like, is the frame getting updated? Was a button pressed? Did something specific happen? And in the last lecture, what we did is we set up an event. There's a predefined event, actually. There's an event of button click, you know, that button click. And then it called a function within the script that we had written, our onPress function, that kind of did the right thing and did some, you know, kind of cool stuff on the screen for us there. So if you recall, here we were, and we had our script, and we had 4 buttons in sort of a directional pad sort of thing. And when the game was played, we executed, and if I press the upper one, I get this little north, and then I get west, I get east, I get south. Okay, so there are things happening on the events associated with these buttons. So if I go to the canvas and I select one of these buttons, we can see on click is the event that's happening, and it is calling some function within a component. In my game manager component here, it's the game manager's script is being called, and it's being passed this number 2, this integer, this ordinal or cardinal direction. Okay, it's an integer that knows 0 means north, 1 means east, 2 means south, you know, kind of arbitrarily, but it's, you know, that's the way it is. All right, so that's the quick whirlwind review, the types of things we've dealt with. All right. And we saw calling a function. Normally, calling a function, we're not talking about the event magical way where it, you know, kind of we've assigned things in the Unity editor or the Unity engine there. This is more on the programmatic level. So inside of our scripts, we saw things like, all right, let's go inside one of our scripts here. We had, what was it called? The game manager script. I double click on that. Visual Studio takes that. Oh, actually, Visual Studio came up awfully nice and quick, so I can't complain too much about it. Visual Studio comes up, and I can see that I have functions inside here. And for example, I've got this change main message function being called, and it's being passed a parameter, and it's in quotes, which means it's a string parameter, and it's got a semicolon at the end of the line, so that marks it as being a complete command. So I had change main message south sort of thing. Okay, so there it is, my simple message, my simple parameterized function call. Okay, in this case, we remember we had this Unity built-in function called print, which was shorthand for debug.log, and so on. All right, that's all review. Everybody's got that one, right? So you've used print. Have you used print in your functions by now? Have you gotten that far? You should have followed along and got some buttons. So the check-ins, I'm hopefully going to be starting to see people will have some buttons and stuff implemented, all right, because you need those for the first project. Now, just in case, if you need them, and these, you know, there's tons and tons of resources out there, but there are some specific resources for C# in Unity. So unity3d.com has learning C# in Unity for beginners. Not saying that anyone's beginners, but it's there for beginners, and experts can use the same stuff as well, even though it says for beginners. And of course, Microsoft has documentation for C# as well. C# has largely started off kind of as a Microsoft project, but it's kind of diverted by now. But there's still Microsoft has some good information about C# out there and available. So I'll post this. This will be posted. I will hopefully straighten out the whole LMS. My game is not quite as strong as it usually is with regards to making sure everything's in sync, but hopefully by the end of this week, everything will be in sync and will be like smoothly operating. So first off, question you might have, you say, well, okay, we're using C#. Is that something that is unique to Unity? And it's not. Like I mentioned, Microsoft has sort of started off the whole C# thing as an answer to sort of Java and C++, and there's .NET, and all these kind of crazy things going along. So it's a different language. It is used in .NET a lot. It's kind of the standard for .NET programming. And it does exist outside of Unity. So what's different about C# outside of Unity versus C# inside of Unity, you may ask? Well, with regards to the language, not a lot is different. C# is C#, but there are certain things you're going to see inside of Unity sort of over and over again. And the first thing being, you're not going to be writing a program. You're not going to be writing programs normally. Maybe there's going to be some strange circumstances where maybe you do. But normally inside Unity, you're not writing programs, you're writing components, right? So we do not want to see this. We don't want to see class program, main, strings, hello world, so on. We're not writing a program. We are writing components. Now there will be some circumstances where you will write scripts that are perhaps standalone libraries, and they're not going to be based on mono components. So this isn't always going to be the case, but largely, for starters, this is going to be the case. Normally we'll see using system collections generic, and Unity engine. And that will give us a sort of template class based on mono behavior, which is the fundamental building block for a component inside of Unity. And by default, when we create a script, it's going to also create this start and update method for us with a blank body inside. Start being something that happens immediately when the game starts, when that object comes into existence, start happens for it. There's some other functions that are going to happen along the way as well, but start is kind of the first thing that we learn about. And then subsequently, every time a frame is drawn, every time we have enough time to draw a frame, update is called, right? Update is basically every time the screen updates, right? It's not necessarily a fixed interval, but you can kind of think of it if you have a 60 hertz monitor or a 120 hertz monitor, or you get one of those crazy, faster monitors. That's how often update gets called, right? And it may be impacted by what's going on and how complex your game is and so on. But you have those two functions. All right, so now remember, components are classes. A component script is always going to contain a class. Components are self-contained classes. They inherit from mono behaviors. They have certain methods that are automatically called at the right time and in response to the right event, like start and update. But there are many more of them that you will grow to know and love. Okay, stop me at any moment. If I'm talking too fast or I forget to breathe and I pass out, let somebody know. Whew. Compiler errors in components will prevent your game from running. Every time you edit a component and you have the Unity editor open, it will actually, and you'll see every so often, it will, Unity will get a little sort of waiting icon cursor, kind of thing. So if I were to go over to my code here and I change something arbitrary and I change it back again and I press Control Save, if I quickly jump over to Unity, at some point we may see, if I click on an object, maybe it happened just too quick, it sort of resolved it. But if I had introduced a bug here, let's introduce a bug, shall we? I'm going to go introduce a bug here, and here's my bug. Ooh, that's not much of a bug, it's just an error. Difference between a bug and an error. An error just doesn't, something just doesn't compile. It's a compiler error. That's not a bug. That's just, that's just an error. It's just bad. Oh, what is that doing open? All right, so if I come back over to Unity now, hopefully, Unity, where are you? Unity is hiding on me. Don't tell me I closed Unity. Nope, there it is. You'll notice immediately it caught it. It said, okay, up here in my Assets, Scripts, Game Manager, CS, I got an error. The name blah, 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 does not exist, right? So there's a communication going on. Unity is actually monitoring the things that are associated with objects and things that are in your assets and in your workspace. So the moment you create a script and you tell Unity about it, be prepared to keep track of it in terms of making sure it's not having errors and uncompilable, right? Because if I press play at this point, sometimes it's nice enough to tell you, nope, you're not going to be able to run until you fix that error. Oh, somebody's not good. Is it running late, or does that mean a pause, a question? If there's any questions. No questions? All right. I'll slow down, but let me know. Oh, I know. So well, I'll ask about, did things get resolved with regards to Unity installations? I know there were some Unity installation problems. That's ringing a bell now. All right, we'll see. We'll get that to work one way or another. So let's get rid of that error in there, of course. We don't want to spend much time worrying about that error. So I'm going to press save, get rid of the error, go back to Unity, and you'll see, of course, now hopefully Unity is all happy. And now it just complains about weird bolt things, so I'll clear those out. Clear. All right. Yes, there are some not errors, but warnings related to bolt. We'll be aware of those, keep an eye out for those, but bolt is a thing. All right. So, components are classes. Compiler errors in components will prevent your game from running. It prevents that particular class from being compiled. Everything is dynamically being compiled and so on. It's not being dynamically interpreted. It has to get compiled before it can run, which is why it does that at that moment. Right, so. All right. But Unity does use C# for other things as well, and you may find that you use those as well. So there are libraries, entities, components, and systems, which is sort of, there's a new, more advanced, more powerful, kind of crazy, this ECS system inside of Unity that once you get the normal bits, if you need to actually sort of really optimize certain types of code, there's another, some variations on the architecture that let you go beyond normal objects and components and get into the entities, components, and systems. That's kind of next level stuff. But for now, we're going to be mostly dealing with normal components, and we are going to look a little bit at libraries later on, which is going to allow us to kind of create some reusable code outside of the space of components that maybe we use across a bunch of different components, or maybe we even use for keeping some data in different spots that doesn't need to be a full-blown Unity component, but we'll get into that. All right, so let's start. Of course, a great place to start is with the basics, of course, and you want syntax so that, we have syntax so that the computer can understand ultimately what we're saying to it. We have to have this syntax and structure to our language, right? I like to start off with what ultimately, for beginners and for people who want to work with other programmers or get their grades, to where they could be, to talk about documenting your code, because you're going to see throughout your code things that are comments, like even just the normal boilerplate stuff that you see for the Unity components. There's going to be some things that are saying like, oh, this is an update routine, this is a mono component, this is whatever. And we handle that through comments. I like to see comments in your code. That makes sense. Be careful how you comment to it often. Don't get too carried away, because then if it reads like, you can't see the code through all the comments. There's a good balance. We want lots of comments. We want things to be clear, but we don't want to get ridiculous. Okay, there's a couple of different types of comments in C#, and some that are sort of extensions to things a little bit. The standard one we see a lot, double slash. So it's double forward slash. Double forward slash is a single line comment, meaning at the end of this line, everything resets, it's all good. So slash slash, if you need to get rid of a line for a moment because it might have a bug on it, or you want to just say slash slash, this following section of code does this, it's a one-liner, simplest way to do it, double slash. There are things called block comments, and you can even put a single block comment or a blocked comment on a single line if you want. It's just a few extra keystrokes, but usually this slash star or slash asterisk, that means start of a comment, And then anything that occurs after that until you close that comment with a corresponding star slash or asterisk slash is contained in a comment, and it's really there to be read. It's it's a good idea. What I like to recommend is at the beginning of each script that you write, you have some sort of comment block that says who wrote the code, when they wrote it, and what the purpose of that was. So if you're writing a component today, you would say, my name, by the way, and I'd say AMEREE, so I'd be able to be identified, wrote this code on September 15th, 2020, and the purpose of this component is to implement the invisibility ray, or something like that. And then kind of take it from there. But that's comments. Comments are good. Comments are useful for pseudocoding and kicking things off. And you notice we had a couple of different types of comments. We had the slashes. We have our other new friends, our greatest friends, the parentheses, braces, angles, and angled brackets, and so on, that are going to be slightly confusing for a little while, but not too long, right? These are ways of encapsulating, not encapsulating, that's too big a word. I mean, it is encapsulating, but it's not encapsulating. It's a way of containing something. We have some kind of stuff that's going to happen inside of parentheses, braces, angle brackets, and so on. Now, the most important one to grasp right away is scope or structure, and we use the curly braces for that. That's what I call them, curly braces, these first two, right? That's used for creating structure, having a block of code, defining a function, defining a class, and so on, right? So whenever you have a class, whenever you have a block of code, whenever you have a function, it is contained within these two, right? Style sort of left up to you, but you get the drill. We talked about that last time. Parentheses are for calling a function, passing values. So these in here, right? So we prototype the function with these to tell it, yes, there are parameters, and so on. And then we call it with the parentheses around there. Square brackets. We're going to use those when we are accessing an element within a collection. Maybe you've heard of arrays. Maybe you've heard of lists. Maybe you've heard of dictionaries. These are all collections, but for a while, we're going to talk mostly about arrays and lists. We'll get into that a little later as well, but the square brackets are normally what we're using there. Now, angle brackets, the infamous less than and greater than sign, angle brackets. They are used to pass a type to a generic function. That sounds like an awful lot, and it is. We're going to be dealing with lots of different types of data and lots of different types of components. And some of the code is going to get used kind of over and over again, and we're going to have common ways of calling that code, like we already did in one case. If we looked up in here, I think we used it. Did we? Yes, we did. In our code last time, if things behave here, we had, something's not exactly behaving. We wanted to get, we wanted to get a string. Hello. My scrolling is not behaving. Is my program running? No. Am I possessed by gremlins? This is odd. Things are sort of auto-scrolling. That's not helpful. All right, I'm going to close Visual Studio. I'm going to assume Visual Studio is having a moment. Nope, it's not just Visual Studio. Give me a moment here. That's not it either. Yeah, it's kind of really weird. I'm wondering if something just bumped into a button. I have way too many buttons on my desk. That's odd. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna unplug a few things. Hopefully we don't. 1 second here. Yeah, maybe it's that. My trackball. Are we still there? Do you still hear me? And that was not the problem. Okay. Let me see. I will plug in my mouse to get power to my mouse. Nope. Yes, maybe. Well, I'm gonna, well, let's see, that's happening in here as well. Yes, it is. It almost seems that way. Yeah, I've just turned my mouse off, and yeah. Oh wait, the only other, I was thinking the only other thing I had left was my actual laptop's keyboard, which my laptop obviously has a mouse pad as well. Yeah. Of all the things to go wrong, I'm gonna have to shut down and be right back. We'll, I think I've got a reboot happening here situation. If it was just one application, I would be inclined to. Oh wait, let me try one other thing. What if that, is that possible? Yes. Sorry. Yes. That I think is not. I don't think I can do that. I'd have to do two separate. Let me just try, see if I can get this program to quit. There's a possibility this hopefully I have a keyboard that's actually working. Technology, right? This is a new one. I've not seen that happen. Let's see. I'm trying to. I have an application that allows me to draw on the screen. And where is it? How do I quit it? Because normally that's in my system tray. No. Thank you for your patience here. No, not. interesting. No, that's still not. How you guys talk about lunch? Talk about how great the Commons is. Wow. I wonder. No, that wouldn't be. Nope, that's not it. Nope. And my one last thing thought that I thought for sure it was. I'm gonna have to restart, and I will give you a. I'll send you a new link for the YouTube stream. My apologies. Um, yeah, I'm sure it's not a router problem. It's just this laptop has been slightly odd lately. This is just its newest thing. Somehow it unless yes. Yes. Absolutely. No, no, you would absolutely have the you'll have both parts. I'm going to stop this stream so it'll be intact. You'll have two versions. That has happened before. You'll definitely have both of them. Yeah. I'll be right back.